Hi, sweetie pie. One more thing to read this morning. We just read um, by Mouse and Frog this book, and we read Lizard from the Park this book, and I wanted to read a poem, and one of the first poems that I turned to has a mouse and a frog in it. So I think I'm going to read that one. Just a moment. Okay, doke. The poems are from this wonderful book, which now we have a copy. This is a library book, but I bought a copy for us and one for your house too. I mean, one for each place because you got to have poems at wherever you are. Frog went a courting. This is the picture, and it's told in a kind of a funny way of speaking. So I'm going to read it the way it's written. Mr. Froggy went a courtin', and he did ride, sword and pistol by his side. He doesn't have that in the picture, but that's because he's telling a story in the picture, sort of. I'm going to start over. Frog went a courtin'. Courtin' means like you've got a friend, a lady friend or something, and you're going out and about with them. Mr. Froggy went a courtin', and he did ride, sword and pistol by his side. He went to Mrs. Mousie's hall, gave a loud knock, and gave a loud call. Pray, Mrs. Mousie, are you within? Yes, kind sir, I set and spin. Spinning wheel like I have. He took Miss Mousie on his knee and says, Miss Mousie, will you marry me? Miss Mousie blushed and hung her head. You'll have to ask Uncle Rat, she said. Not without Uncle Rat's consent would I marry the president. Uncle Rat jumped up and shook his fat side, don't ask me what that means, to think his niece would be Bill Frog's bride. Next day Uncle Rat went to town to get his niece a wedding gown. What shall the wedding supper be? Way down yonder in a holler tree. First come in was a bumblebee who danced a jig with Captain Flea. Next come in was a butterfly, sellin' butter very high. And when they all sat down to sup, a big gray goose come and gobbled 'em all up. And this is the end of 1, 2, 3, the rat and the mouse and the little froggy. That's nice. I hear chickens calling for me saying, what are you taking your time for? And they're absolutely right. And this is a bunch of little jingles. Out of the fun and frolic of childhood have come countless jingles, including the old Mother Goose rhymes. On the streets and in the backwoods of America, new and lively play poems are continually being made. Here are a few of what we might call American Father Gander. So we've got Mother Goose and Father Gander. They're making a little play on that. Cry, baby, cry. Wipe your little eye. Go tell your mammy to give you a piece of pie. Okay. That's nice. I'll eat when I'm hungry and drink when I'm dry. If a tree don't fall on me, I'll live until I die. Okay, one more. There was an old man named Michael Finnegan. A long beard grew out of his chin again. Along came a wind and blew it right in again. Poor old Michael Finnegan. That's enough of those. This one is the elf and the dormouse. This little mouse under a kind of a mushroom or toadstool. Under a toadstool crept a wee elf, out of the rain to shelter himself. Under the toadstool sound asleep sat a big dormouse all in a heap. This is the little elf, even smaller than the little mouse, although they call it a big dormouse. They spell dormouse Dormouse. I'll look that up and see what kind of mouse that is, or if it's just another way of referring to a mouse. I don't know. Trembled the wee elf, frightened, and yet fearing to fly away, lest he got wet. To the next shelter, maybe a mile, sudden the wee elf smiled a wee smile. Tugged till the toadstool toppled in two. Holding it over him, gaily he flew. Soon he was safe home, dry as could be. Soon woke the dormouse, good gracious me. Where is my toadstool? Loud he lamented. And that's how umbrellas first were invented. Not really, but it's cute. Let's see what we'll find if we just advance a bit. Let's see. This is a poem from a long time ago. It's 15th century. That means the 1400s. That means like 600 years ago. About 100 years after Chaucer, who's a famous English writer. But this one is called Mary Margaret, and it's by John Skelton. And it says, he was born about 100 years later than Chaucer. He was a lively, if erratic poet. His rhythms were rough, his style was ragged, and he delighted in catch-as-catch-can rhymes. That means they aren't carefully constructed necessarily, they're just here and there. Everything he did was done in high spirits. Even such a graceful tribute as the verses to Mary Margaret are playfully helter-skelter. It is not necessary to know that the fair Issaphel was originally Hypsipyle, a legendary Greek girl who saved her father's life, that good Cassander was Cassandra, the Trojan prophetess, that coriander is an aromatic herb, and that sweet pomander is a ball of perfume which used to be worn as a charm. The other thing pomanders are is I've made one where you take an orange or a lemon and you put little cloves, whole cloves. You take a nail and make a hole in the citrus fruit, and then you put a clove in each of the holes, and then it smells so fragrant because you've got the citrus and you've got the cloves, and sometimes people roll it in cinnamon as well. That's what a pomander ball is, but I guess it's also a ball of perfume which used to be worn as a charm. Such information may enhance appreciation of the poem, but